in the aftermath of the acquittal of George Zimmerman, Eric Holder, Al Sharpton and Ben Jealous of the NAACP are calling on the black community to rise up in national protest. Yet they know, and Barack Obama, whose silence speaks volumes, knows, nothing is going to happen. Stand your ground laws in Florida and other states are not going to be repealed. George Zimmerman is not going to be prosecuted for a federal hate crime in the death of Trayvon Martin. The result of all this ginned-up rage that has produced vandalism and violence is simply going to be an ever-deepening racial divide. Consider the matter of crime and fear of crime. From listening to cable channels and hearing Holder, Sharpton, Jealous and others, one would think the great threat to black children today emanates from white vigilantes and white cops. Hence, every black father must have a conversation with his son, warning him not to resist or run if pulled over or hassled by a cop. Make the wrong move, son, and you may be dead is the implication. But is this the reality in black America? When Holder delivered his 2009 Nation of Cowards speech blaming racism for racial separation, Manhattan Institute's Heather McDonald suggested that our Attorney General study his crime statistics. In New York from January to June 2008, 83% of all gun assailants were black, according to witnesses and victims, though blacks were only 24% of the population. Blacks and Hispanics together accounted for 98% of all gun assailants. 49 of every 50 muggings and murders in the Big Apple were the work of black or Hispanic criminals. New York Police Commissioner A. Kelly confirms McDonald's facts. Blacks and Hispanics commit 96% of all crimes in the city, he says, but only 85% of the stop and frisks are of blacks and Hispanics. And these may involve the kind of pat-downs all of us have had at the airport. Is stop and frisk the work of racist cops in New York, where the crime rate has been driven down to levels unseen in decades? According to Kelly, a majority of his police force, which he has been able to cut from 41,000 officers to 35,000, is now made up of minorities. But blacks are also, per capita, the principal victims of crime. Would black fathers prefer their sons to grow up in Chicago, rather than low-crime New York City, with its stop-and-frisk policy? Fernando Mateo, head of the New York Taxi Cab Union, urges his drivers to profile blacks and Hispanics for their own safety. The God's honest truth is that 99% of the people that are robbing, stealing, killing these drivers are blacks and Hispanics. Mateo is what the New York Times would describe as a black Hispanic, yet he may be closer to the hood than Holder, who says he was stopped by police when running to a movie, in Georgetown. Which raises a relevant question. Georgetown is an elitist enclave of a national capital that has been ruled by black mayors for half a century. It's never had a white mayor. Is Holder saying we've got racist cops in the district where Obama carried 86% of the white vote and 97% of the black vote? And his son should fear the white cops in Washington, D.C.? What about interracial crime, white-on-black attacks and the reverse? After researching the FBI numbers for suicide of a superpower, this writer concluded, an analysis of single-offender victimization figures from the FBI for 2007 finds blacks committed 433,934 crimes against whites, 8 times the 55,685 whites committed against blacks. Interracial rape is almost exclusively black on white, with 14,000 assaults on white women by African Americans in 2007. Not one case of a white sexual assault on a black female was found in the FBI study. Though blacks are outnumbered 5-1 in the population by whites, they commit 8 times as many crimes against whites as the reverse. By those 2007 numbers, a black male was 40 times as likely to assault a white person as the reverse. If interracial crime is the ugliest manifestation of racism, what does this tell us about where racism really resides, in America? And if the FBI stats for 2007 represent an average year since the Tawana Brawley rape hoax of 1987, over 1/3 of a million white women have been sexually assaulted by black males since 1987, with no visible protest from the civil rights leadership. Today, 73% of all black kids are born out of wedlock. Growing up, these kids drop out, use drugs, are unemployed, commit crimes and are incarcerated at many times the rate of Asians and whites, or Hispanics, who are taking the jobs that used to go to young black Americans. Are white vigilantes or white cops really black America's problem? Obama seems not to think so. The Reverend Sharpton notwithstanding, he is touting Ray Kelly as a possible chief of Homeland Security.